In the previous episode, we witnessed the winter life of Kibber. The laughter of children, the simple rhythm of daily course, and the quiet resilience of people living in the embrace of the mountains. In this episode, we begin our journey towards the astonishing Monastery and then into the heart-stopping landscape of Chichum before finally bowing before the ancient cliffside monastery of Dhankar. As I travelled along the snow-filled road, I noticed a hillock ahead with the structure resting calmly on its crown. A moment later, I realized it was a monastery. The white walls, the stacked rooms, the prayer flags fluttering in the cold Himalayan air, everything looked timeless. As I entered the complex, the smell of old wood and butter lamps filled the air. Slow steps took me into the prayer hall, glowing with silence. Monks chanted softly in one corner, their voice merging with the mountain stillness. Every wall carried colors of devotion, red, gold, and deep blue, that told stories older than memory. Gompa, the largest monastery in Spiti, holds deep spiritual significance. It is the home of revered reincarnation of Lochen Ringchen Zangpo, the great translator, who lived from 1958 to 1055 AD. The monastery itself rose here in the early 15th century, rooted firmly like an ancient tree clinging to the mountain. Julie. The monastery shelters around 200 monks. I met a few young monks laughing after their classes, their red robes bright against the snow. This was their school, their home, their entire world. Peace lived here like a gentle companion. Even at noon, the peaks blocked the sun. The valley below shone softly, wrapped in winter silence. Standing there, I felt the mountains whispering ancient stories into the wind. Just a little ahead, a small hillock offered a grandest view of the monastery. I climbed up slowly, the cold stinging my face, but the moment I reached the top, all discomfort vanished. The entire monastery stood before me, calm, strong, glowing under the pale winter sun. Gompa has seen storms, wars, and earthquakes. Mongols attacked it, Dogras entered, Sikh marched through, and the 1975 earthquake shattered many parts. Yet, with the care of ASI and the devotion of monks, it still stands. While moving towards the canteen, I heard a sudden shout of joy. A group of local boys were playing football on a small open patch beside the monastery. The ground was covered with snow. They were running and gliding. There we were finding it difficult to walk, but their spirits were flying higher than the peaks around them. Inside the canteen, warmth welcomed us. And behind the small wooden counter stood the canteen boy, quietly busy, but with something unusual. Instead of normal menu board, he had drawn an old mountain landscape on a board, white peak rising into the sky, a river flowing in a blue sketched lines. And in between this artwork, he had written the daily menu: tupka, Maggi, omelette, chai, casually blending the food with the spirit of the Himalaya. After lunch, we drove towards Chichum. The road was narrow and sharp. One wrong turn could take you thousands of feet below, but our driver steered with calm confidence. The Spiti landscape kept distracting me with its beauty: endless mountain, shining snow patches, and the valley so deep that even the wind hesitated to enter. We stopped near a ridge. From there, I saw the full view of the Chichum bridge. At a staggering altitude of 13,596 feet, this bridge connects the village of Chichum and Kibber. I walked into the middle of the bridge and looked down. A wave of thrill ran through me. It hangs silently above the 1,000-foot gorge known as Sambar Lambanala, a dark, endless pit that looks like it has no bottom. It felt like the mountains were testing my courage. I couldn't help but think, how did villagers cross this terrifying stretch before this bridge? On a simple ropeway tied between the cliffs. Imagine dangling over 1,000-foot drop, trusting a rope and faith. As I stood on the Chichum bridge, a few trackers arrived. We exchanged warm smiles and a few gentle conversations. With that silence still holding me, we slowly walked back to the vehicle and continued our journey towards Kibber, where the warmth of the homestay and the long winter night was waiting for us. The next morning, when we started our journey towards Dhankar, the whole valley looked reborn. It was a bright sunny day, the sky shining in the purest shade of blue, as if someone had washed it clean in the night. As we drove, I saw a few women walking along the road. Wrapped warmly against the cold, they were heading towards the Kaza. In winter, public transport is limited in Spiti, so people depend on local vehicles, even if it means walking miles before finding one. As we entered the wide, silent stretch of Lingti, the landscape suddenly changed. The mountains opened up like a grand doorway. And there, almost hidden in the lap of the shadowed cliff, stood the frozen waterfall of Lingti. The water had frozen in long, delicate pillars, each one catching the sunlight in a different angle. Behind the frozen curtain, a small cave had formed. We stepped inside. The cave was dim, but the ice crystals hanging from the roof sparkled like stars. I walked slowly, hiked further, deeper inside. It opened into a hidden pond of crystal clear water. For a long time, I simply stood there, listening to the mountains peek through the soft dip of melting ice. We continued our journey, and after a few minutes of our journey, we saw a monastery. It was the Dhankar Monastery. The word Dhankar comes from Dhank, means cliff, and the Kar, meaning fort, a fort on a cliff. If you look at it, and you will immediately wonder, how is it still standing? What keeps it balanced? Is it faith? Is it mountain? Or is it the devotion of centuries? Dhankar village itself clings to the cliffside. Its houses standing bravely against icy winds. The whole village looked like a painting, earth tones blending with the snow and sky. Inside the monastery, everything slowed down. The dim light, the butter lamps, the scent of incense. It took me into another era. The walls made of mud, stone, and the timber felt alive, as if they had absorbed prayers from every generation. As I stood in the quiet sanctity of the temple, where His Holiness Dalai Lama had once stayed, I lit a butter lamp, its gentle flame carrying my intentions upwards. The sight of sheep hung at the entrance added a striking layer of ancient belief. Local myth says that the sheep represent protective spirits, offerings made to guard the monastery from misfortune and to appease mountains deities who watch over the remote Spiti valleys. Some stories say the sheep symbolizes the surrendering of one's ego, while others speak of them as a tokens ensuring the safe passage through the rugged terrain. Behind the monastery, I walked towards the viewpoint, a narrow path leading to the world suspended between the heaven and earth. When I reached the edge, the entire landscape opened up, and there, far below, the confluence of Spiti and Pin rivers shone like two celestial beings meeting in silence. I stood there, without speaking, without moving. The rivers below seemed to carry not just waters but stories of monks, travelers, shepherds, and countless winters. It was one of those rare places where nature doesn't just show beauty, it shows the truth. And I bowed my head slightly, letting the silence settle inside me. Satisfied, humbled, and touched, I began my return journey towards one of the Himachal's most beautiful village, Kalpa.